On a recent visit to Dallas-Fort Worth in Texas, United States of America, we got an opportunity to link up with Nitin and Priya. Nitin and I go back a very long way to when we were together in school in the 1970s. Nitin afforded us an opportunity to see a cultural piece of Texas, which was the Dallas-Fort Worth Rodeo. The DFW Rodeo is a vibrant celebration of Texas' deep-rooted cowboy culture, featuring thrilling rodeo events, live entertainment, and family-friendly attractions. Held in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, this event showcases professional bull riding, steer wrestling, and roping competition, drawing skilled cowboys and cowgirls from across the country. Beyond the arena, one can enjoy carnival rides, western-themed shopping, and mouth-watering Texas barbecue. Live country music performances and lively dance floors keep the energy high, while livestock exhibitions and educational showcases highlight the region's ranching heritage. A blend of tradition and excitement, the Dallas-Fort Worth Rodeo is a must visit for those looking to experience the true spirit of the American West.
He got a good spot. Yeah, he did. Got room for any more?
Back, bringing them all in St. Peter's on the Flying V Cross Ranch. Put your hands together as Cooper Friendly brings in the rest of his crew. We're talking about the boys on a man's ranch. Go ahead and find out. It's Ben Easter. As we get ready for the Flying V Cross Ranch, we're ready up top, Benton. Our flag is up. Number four. They got to kick it off with number 4. Jake Crockett is in the herd. You see our man in the herd, that's Nick Robinson, calming the herd. See him go back and forth, rushing them. Folks, it is Cowboy Arms. As we get ready, Tom's Ranch is set, timers are ready. They're set down below, the flag goes up. Number 2. They're looking for 2. You got it sorted out on the pins. You see him go ahead and get this one out. Jumps the line. Cowboys, they get it right. Take a look at the other 3 here on the ground. You see one load for the Brandon iron. You got one bucket right here on the top side. Here comes Mammoths Ranch. Remember, it's a mountain down in the middle of nowhere. Oh my goodness, this one's got us kicked. We got it strong. Look at this, yeah. Yeah, you got to give it all you got, and they got to get this animal tied. They got to tie it in 3 legs. The way they're doing it here is that 3 bone front. It's the effective way to get it done. Keep that animal tied down. Now to get everything cleared out, take a look. Here comes the brander. Put the brand on. Coach Bones Ranch, make a little racket. There's the bucket. It's going to be 62-61. your chance. Rodeo pays to get a little wild because it's about to get a little western. Let's get wild. Wow, these tails all over the place. Check it out. We ain't singing. Our pickup band's coming in and get her man down. How are we getting ready? You're taking a look at. You're taking a look at Jacob Lewis climbing down on one. Here's a guy that can win it all. Folks, it is Justin Booth's Bucket Shoe, Jacob Lewis, Saunders Ranch. You know what to do. I don't need to tell you about it. He's got one hand in the air. He's got one hand. 14. Number 14 is what they're looking for. Number 14. Here's Waylon Davis. He gets done like a bucking horse, and now he's ready to rope one. He says, if Indians row, you call me. If Ted Williams on the backside, Ted. This is Black Beat Ross's last event. They would love to win. They would love to be faster than that 56.97. That flag's still up. Now we're good. Things are going their way. They're getting a call all at the same time. We're trying to get ahead of them right here. We're trying to keep this one down. My goodness. That's what's going to work. There's some big boys right there. This is a lot of feet we're looking at down here. They're hustling. They sure want to be at the top. Oh, so close. 58 and 33. That's going to put him second. Now, you see how that moves Nance Ranch down to fourth? Ryan, big thank you for all you do. American Ranch Company down the road. Of course, you're taking a look at Rick Steele. He's going to be awarded these champions. We'll read them off the top. Get all our photos. Take a look at all the kids walking around. Definitely a family affair. We appreciate everybody coming out. There's going to be a lot of things happening tomorrow as well. Cowboy Church in the morning.
He's going to compete. Look at the numbers. He's 33.
We then drove 1.5 hours down south to visit the Waco National Monument for mammoths. The Waco Mammoth National Monument is a fascinating paleontological site in Texas, preserving the remains of a prehistoric herd of Columbian mammoth that roamed the region over 65,000 years
It all
ago.
started back in 1978. These two gentlemen right here, Paul and Eddie, they were in their late teens, early 20s at the time, so a bit before this picture was taken. And they were out here exploring in this creek bed right behind us. So as they were exploring in the creek bed, they spotted a bone sticking out of one of the side walls. Now, this bone had a rounded end on it, so they were very curious and concerned as to what this might be. They're worried maybe it might be something along the lines of a human skull. So they did what any curious young boys would do and dug this bone out. So whenever they dug this bone out, it ended up being a 3-foot long bone. Now, they knew that that was much too large to belong to anything that belonged here present day. So they did the right thing and they took it over to Baylor, back then was known as the Strecker Museum, now known as the Mayborn Museum. And they were able to positively identify it as the femur of a Columbian mammoth. And it was pretty much just gonna end there, because if you look at this map right behind me, this shows where all of our Columbian mammoths have been found. So it is very common to stumble upon some of their bones within the area. So that's why Baylor wasn't that impressed with it. But as Paul and Eddie were exploring, they noticed a bunch more bones that were in this area that they just hadn't dug out. So they expressed to them that they believed that there could be more, like there could be complete skeletons of mammoths within this area, and that it was very significant. And Baylor said, all right, well, where'd you find these bones at? And they had to do a little bit of explaining and tell them that they might have been trespassing on private property, unbeknowingly to them, as this was a dairy farm at the time. So they did have to come out here and get permission from the landowner. Thank goodness he was a big supporter of both Baylor and the city of Waco. So he did grant them access to come out here, and the boys didn't get in trouble for taking the bones off of the private property or trespassing. So he did grant them access to come out here and start their first round of excavation down in that creek bed starting in the 80s. Now, during that excavation, they uncovered 16 complete skeletons of Columbian mammoths. Now, what makes us this red dot right here on the map, or this red star, is the fact that we are, right now as it stands, the first and only time evidence of a Columbian nursery herd has been found. So a nursery herd in our mammoths, as well as our modern day elephants, consist of all females of various ages and juveniles. So no adult males would have been with this original herd. So whenever they uncovered these bones, they put them all in plaster jackets to be able to better preserve them, as this is an active flooding creek when we do get heavy rains. So those bones are in storage still at the Mayborn Museum in collections and are having research being done on them. And once our paleontologist came on staff in the year 2020, she has been working on doing a lot of backtracking and opening up those plaster jackets from the original herd. Now, once they finished this round of excavation about 10 years later, they started to fill in this big gaping hole they had left in the nice landowner's land. So the sediment was sitting about where the building sits now. And as they were backfilling, you'll never guess what they ran into. More mammoth bones. So where the building sits now is our second phase of excavation. It is an active dig site. As I mentioned, we do have a paleontologist on staff here. We became a part of the National Park Service in the year 2015, and so shortly after that in 2020 is when we got our paleontologist. So this is what's called an in situ fossil bed. There are only 8 in situ fossil beds in the United States of America. 2 of them are owned by the National Park Service, and I believe ours is the only one with air conditioning. We needed that with the Texas heat, so it's probably why our paleontologist chose us. So we have left all of the bones in situation as they are found in there. There's only been one bone that has been moved due to a water intrusion that happened a few years back, but pretty much everything else was left in the exact spot it was found. Does anybody have any questions about the sign up here or anything I have mentioned so far?
Why are they called Columbian mammoths?
Yeah, so how did they get their names Columbian mammoths? So they are not from Colombia, although you might think that due to their name. But the scientist that discovered them was actually giving credit to Christopher Columbus for them being found in the New World. Yes. So that's why they are called the Columbian mammoths. That's how they got their name.
I got a question. So do
Yes,
they
ma'am.
plan on leaving all the bones in place, or will eventually they excavate them and take them out?
Yeah, so do they plan on leaving all of the bones in place as they sit right now? So as of this moment right now, they do plan on leaving everything in place as they can learn more about what that animal's time was like during its period here, as well as how they interacted with each other, how the same animals within the same layer of the sediment would interact with each other. So as of right now, they're not working on or planning to remove the bones that have already been removed and move them somewhere else, probably until they continue further excavation. So this is going to be a life-size representation of what we believe, right, of what we believe our Columbian mammoths would have looked like. So our mammoths would have stood at about 15 feet tall, which should really be up where the lights are, but the lights were there before we had our painting done, so he's a little bit shorter than he should have been. This guy would also come in weighing at about 20,000 pounds, so very heavy and large creatures. Now, as I mentioned, this is what we believe that they would have looked like. This is our best hypothesis. As I had mentioned, or as I haven't mentioned yet, the ice sheets wouldn't have come farther down than about modern day Kansas. So, none of these guys have been found fully frozen. These guys never would have been exposed to the extreme cold elements. So, they have found their relatives, the woolly mammoths, fully frozen, knowing exactly what they look like with all of their soft tissues. These guys, on the other hand, we don't have that luck with them. So we have found evidence of their hair in a cave in Arizona. Its name is called Vishon Cave. Now that name translates to Big Dung Cave. And so in that cave, they found some big mammoth dung within it. And as they were doing some experiments on it, they noticed that there was some hair within the dung. Now we do know that our mammoths only eat grass, so that hair had to have been their own. Now it was a reddish brownish color when uncovered. Of course, it had been in the cave oxidizing for tens of what his hair color might have been like. Now he probably didn't have this bowl/mullet cut going on, but he looks pretty good and he's from Texas, so we had to give him a good hairstyle. Now just for size comparison, as I mentioned, they're relatives of woolly mammoths that most people have heard of before. And in comparison to our Columbian mammoths, they are quite a bit dramatized on the movie Ice Age. They're not very to scale in that movie. Hate to break it to you, but that movie's not very historically accurate when it comes to the Ice Age times. So, the woolly mammoths would actually be almost half of the size of these mammoths right here. They would only come to about right here, the largest male would, on this guy's jaw. So wouldn't nearly be able to size up to these guys. Exactly. Now, for size comparison to our modern day elephants, their relatives, our Asian elephant would come up to about his jaw right here, which he can almost completely walk over an Asian elephant. And our largest elephant, the African elephant, would stand taller than our woolies at about right here, coming up a little bit underneath his ear. So, still these guys were the most massive ones by far. Of course, everything is bigger in Texas, even back during the Ice Age, so we had to have the biggest mammoths as well. Now, as I mentioned, we haven't found any of their soft tissues, so this means no DNA testing, no DNA replicas like they have tried on the woolly mammoths thus far, as well as we don't know the exact size of their ear. So we also had to take a good guess of that. Fun fact, our woolly mammoths don't have much larger ears than we do. That's due to the fact that they live in the extremely cold climates, and if they were much larger, they would easily get frostbite and fall off during the extremely cold winters. Where our African elephants have those much larger floppy ears to cool themselves downward. So our artist went with a good in-between size for this guy right up here. So this depicts what we believe our prehistoric Texas would have looked like. The temperatures would have been very comparable to today. We would have had rolling grasslands and an abundance of vegetation. We are also located half a mile in between both the Bosque and the Brazos River, so this would have been a floodplain area at the time with an abundance of water resources as well. Now this would be so important as our mammoths have to eat 600 to 700 pounds of grass per day per mammoth. So to put that into scale, that is one large round bale's worth of grass per day. that one mammoth would have to eat. They would also drink about 50 to 80 gallons of water per day per mammoth. That's a pretty big order just for one mammoth. You could imagine trying to feed the nursery herd of the original 16 that were found outside. You'd need a lot of resources to be able to do so. So in this picture, it does show what we believe our original nursery herd would look like right here, with our matriarch, the grandma at the front, leading her herd of all of her offspring, her daughters, who come together to raise their baby mammoths. Now this mural also depicts one of our earliest hypotheses as to what we believe killed our Columbia mammoths. So initially, we thought that something along the lines of a flash flood or mudslide had come and initially buried and killed our mammoths. As you can see up there on the mural with our camel, which we nicknamed Flo, kind of going with the flow, that got trapped in the flash flood. Our paleontologist has actually now pointed out that the bones tell us a little bit of a different story. Thank you. So I'd like to start talking about the bones down there, specifically starting with this bottom-most layer right down here. So that layer of soil dates back 65,000 years ago. That would be the same layer of soil that our nursery herd was found in outside, as the creek would have been flowing in here before we made the building and put the walls up to prevent that from happening. So we do believe that our Mammoth S right here was traveling with that original nursery herd. Now if you notice, when we first uncovered her, we labeled her as a juvenile. And thanks to our paleontologist, she's pointed out that she is in fact an adult. She can tell that due to the fact that some of her bones have already started to fuse together that we do not see happening until adulthood. So this tells us that she is small in stature in comparison to other mammoths that have been found throughout the area. In relative relation, our nursery herd as a whole was also very small in size in comparison to other mammoths that have been found. So that tells us that they weren't the healthiest herd in general, since they all would have been undersized. Also, when she was taking a closer look at our Mammoth S, she noticed some pitting in her bones. So that tells us that her body was so deprived of nutrients, she started to reabsorb the calcium from within her own bones. Now she also noticed some scavenging marks on our Mammoth S, as well as our guest star over here, the Western camel that we saw in the flash flood happening up on the mural. So this tells us that they were exposed to the elements for quite some time before something like a mudslide came and buried them and helped with that preservation process. So due to the small size in our Mammoth S, as well as the pitting in her bones, we believe that something more along the lines of a extreme drought killed our nursery herd. So there was an extreme drought throughout the years, and specifically on this year, the matriarch would have brought the herd to this location pretty much as a last resort, looking for resources to be able to support the herd, and there wouldn't have been enough to support them all, and they would have died over a series of days or even weeks. Now, our mammoths are very comparable to our elephants, as they are in these herds for life. So they do have a very sentimental attachment to their herd. So if one member were to die, they wouldn't just leave it behind like some other packs of animals would do. They'd pretty much stay and mourn the death of their family member. So that's why they all would have died within this area at once.
So they would have probably died of starvation then?
Exactly, yeah, they would have starved to death pretty much. There wouldn't have been enough grass growing or enough water within the area to be able to support them all, and they also wouldn't have enough energy to be able to go out on more extreme hunts for more food. Not hunts, but
Yes.
you know, they wouldn't be able to go travel
very
get
sad.
forage for more food. Thank you. The word escapes me sometimes.
Yeah.
So, does anybody have any questions about our Mammoth S right there? Alrighty. So as I mentioned, we do have a guest star, or Western camel, that is down in that bottommost layer.
That's a camel.
We do believe that she came around the same point in time as our Mammoth S, give or take a few years. We initially thought she might have been traveling with that herd, but now we aren't able to say for sure. But we do know that our mammoths wouldn't have minded another mammal being around, especially since they are this size. She wouldn't have posed a threat to them, and if it was a good year, she wouldn't have posed a threat on any of their grazing either. She would have eaten along the same things that our mammoths would have. She would have been a grazer. A few differences in this camel in comparison to our modern day camels is that she would have stood about 3 feet taller than our modern day camels do now. She also has canine teeth that we do not see in our modern day camels. So this wouldn't have changed her diet. She just would have used these teeth for more self-defense purposes and fighting. As I mentioned outside, there were no adult males traveling within this herd, but one of the first things you might see is our adult male sitting right up here at top. Well, that's due to the fact that he came about 15,000 years later than our original nursery herd did. We can tell this due to the level of elevation that he's sitting at within the soil. So he's sitting at about 2 to 3 feet higher than our original nursery herd is down at the bottom. So that's how we could say that he came so much later. Now we are able to identify him as a male due to the great view we have of his pelvis right down here. So the males have a smaller, more circular pelvic opening, where our females will have a much larger, more diamond to oval shaped pelvic opening, which we'll see a great example of in just a moment when we go around and see our female. So, since he came so much later, we aren't able to exactly state what killed him or how he died. We do know that he has sustained an injury about a year before his time of death. If you take a very close look at his ribs, specifically this one right here with the rounded nodule on it, we can tell that he broke that rib about a year before he passed away, and it started to heal back together. Now this is a very common injury that we see in our mammoths as well as our modern day elephants, as they normally sustain this injury during mating season when fighting other males. They do have some very heavy and sturdy weapons that they have on them, like their tusks. Our mammoth Q down here, his tusks would have measured to about 11 feet in length, and in his heyday would weigh about 250 pounds each. So you could imagine if another mammoth threw their tusks at another one's side, it'd be very easy for them to crack that rib bone. So we can't say if that's exactly what killed him. He could have succumbed to that injury as well as more underlying causes, but we do know that he did sustain that injury about a year before his time of death. Now within that same layer of soil, we do have evidence of a few more mammoths, specifically this mammoth B over here, and this mammoth R, but they are still working on recovering. So all we can say about these bones is that they are positively identified as mammoth bones that came around Mammoth Q's point in time, give or take a few years again. Any questions about that layer of soil? Right, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this right over here on my left is going to be our mammoth W, our female mammoth. As I mentioned, our females have a much larger pelvic opening in comparison to our males. If you take a look, this is that larger, more diamond to oval shaped pelvic opening that I was mentioning over there by mammoth Q. Now she would need this larger pelvic opening to, one, be able to push out her large mammoth babies, as well as making her gestation stage of 2 years more comfortable for carrying her babies around. Yes, so our mammoths would have about a 2-year gestation stage, like our modern day elephants, and they have been feeding their calves for about 2 to 3 years after birth. So, in saying that, they can only have babies about every 5 years. They would belong to an animal along the lines of a deer or antelope type of creature. Now that is the only part of the skeleton that we have uncovered so far, so we can't say specifically a species. However, it could be something in relation to our modern day white-tailed and ancestor of it. That's pretty much all we can say about it as of right now. Any questions? Yes, so the street would have branched off over this way before to build the building. So you're all over here. Yep, so then we blocked it off, and then we have a tube that kind of runs over. Now this is a bottom view of her jaw, as these would be the top 2 teeth right here, and then her skull up here, as well as her tusks. So if you haven't noticed, one of her tusks is considerably shorter than the other one. That would tell us that she would have broken this tusk at some point during her lifetime. However, if you take a closer look at it, the shorter one has more of a rounded and smoothed edge, where the longer one has more of a jagged and rough edge. So that would tell us, even though she broke that one at some point during her lifetime, she still would have favored it more and been using it to actively push over trees as well as rip up shrubs. So this tells us that our mammoths had pretty much a right hand versus a left hand, but within their tusk, just like us and just like our modern day elephants that we see. One more replica is going to be right behind y'all over this way. So this large bone that you see on the right hand side right here is going to be a replica of that bone that Paul and Eddie found outside in the creek bed. So this is that rounded end that they were a little bit worried as to what it might be like before they uncovered it. Yes. So just for size comparison, that is an adult human femur bone that sits right next to it on the left-hand side. So it puts it into scale and into perspective how much larger these mammals were than we are today.
From Waco National Monument for mammoths, we continued our journey down south to Austin, where we linked up with another great friend's family, Anil, his wife Alka, and daughter Arjita. Our next stop was equally spectacular, a journey beneath the surface of Texas to one of the most spectacular natural wonders of the state, the natural bridge Caverens. Whether you are a nature enthusiast, a science lover, or just someone who enjoys a good adventure, these caverns offer something truly fascinating. The Natural Bridge Caverns are the largest known commercial caverns in Texas, located about 30 minutes north of San Antonio. The caverns get their name from a massive 60-foot natural limestone bridge that spans the entrance, a remnant of the caverns' collapse thousands of years ago. But as impressive as that bridge is, what lies beneath it is even more extraordinary. A vast underground world filled with stunning rock formations, winding passageways, and chambers that have taken a millennia to form. The story of these caverns begins millions of years ago, during the Cretaceous period around 100 to 120 million years ago. At that time, this region was covered by a shallow sea. Over time, the shells and skeletons of marine organisms accumulated on the seafloor, creating layers of limestone. As the sea receded and the Texas landscape began to change, acidic rainwater slowly seeped through the cracks in the limestone, dissolving the rock and forming underground voids over thousands of years. These voids have now expanded, creating the vast caverns that we see today. Inside, mineral-rich water dripping from the cave ceiling and seeping through the walls led to the formation of stalactites, stalagmites, flowstones, and other stunning geological formations. Some of these formations continue to grow even today, though at an incredibly slow rate of only about 1 inch every 100 years. For thousands of years, these caves remained hidden, untouched, and unknown. But in 1960, a group of 4 college students from St. Mary's University in San Antonio set out to explore a sinkhole beneath the natural bridge. As they squeezed through narrow openings and crawled through the dark tunnels, they discovered breathtaking chambers filled with glistening formations. Their discovery quickly gained attention, and professional geologists confirmed that this was a massive cave system. By 1964, the caverns were open to the public, with pathways and lighting carefully installed to preserve the delicate ecosystem. Since then, continued exploration has revealed even more chambers, and to this day, researchers are still uncovering new passageways. While the limestone that forms the caverns is over 100 million years old, the caverns themselves are much younger. Scientists estimate that the caves started forming around 5 million years ago due to the natural dissolution of limestone. This means that while dinosaurs once roamed the land above, the caverns as we see them today didn't exist yet. However, ancient creatures did inhabit Texas at the time, and fossilized remains of Ice Age mammals have been found in similar cave systems across the region. One of the most famous sections of the Natural Bridge Caverns is the Hall of the Mountain King, a massive chamber with towering stalagmites and draperies of flowstone. Another stunning formation is the Castle of the White Giants, featuring some of the largest stalagmites in the caves. Stalagmites are mineral formations that grow upward from the floor of a cave. They are created when mineral-rich water drips from the ceiling and deposits calcite, that is a type of calcium carbonate, over time. As the drops of water hit the ground and evaporate, they leave behind tiny mineral deposits. Over thousands or even millions of years, these deposits build up into large cone-shaped formations. Stalagmites are often paired with stalactites, which form on the ceiling, and they grow towards each other, eventually connecting to form a column. Flowstones are sheet-like deposits of calcite or other minerals that form along the cave walls and floors. Instead of dripping, the water moves in thin layers over rock surfaces, leaving behind minerals that harden into smooth layered formations. Flowstones can look like frozen waterfalls or rippling curtains of rock. They can be white, brown, or even orange depending on the minerals in the water. The Natural Bridge Caverns reach depths of around 230 feet, that is 70 meters below the surface at their deepest known point. The main public tour descends about 180 feet or 55 meters underground, but further exploration has revealed deeper passages. Some areas of the caverns remain unexplored even today, meaning there could be even deeper sections yet to be discovered. These depths are a result of millions of years of water erosion dissolving the limestone gradually, creating vast chambers and passageways beneath the Earth's surface. Beyond their natural beauty, the Natural Bridge Caverns are a crucial part of our natural heritage. They provide valuable insights into geology, hydrology, and cave ecosystems. The caverns also serve as a reminder of how fragile underground environments are. Formations take thousands, even millions of years to develop, but can be destroyed in seconds if they are not protected.
All right, everybody, so we are now standing in our second largest room that you're gonna see on tour today. We're about 150 feet underground, standing in Castle of the White Giants. So this room, it is about 50 feet tall, 50 feet wide, and 250 feet in length. Alright everybody, so you're going to follow me to the middle of the room. Now in the middle of the room we have a nice large body of water. Over there I'm going to tell you some more fun facts about the water, so please come over here. Please be extra careful, take slow, small steps on this little ramp. There are no handrails.
长跟他去啊。看这边，有水。
This is the area